We've talked about movie rewatchability. Today we're talking movie unrewatchability.
You only got to see it once to get the point across.
Welcome back to Peanut Gallery, everybody. I am one of your hosts, Savario Rizzio, and I'm joined once again by John Reviews.
What's going on?
What is going on? We're actually grabbing a topic from one of your suggestions. Corey, thank you for this topic. Today we're talking about what makes a movie unrewatchable.
You said you prepared for this one.
I did.
You're ready.
I have notes. I prepared. I actually have 4 sins that a movie can commit that essentially leads it to be unrewatchable. And I'll be really interested to see if you agree with me.
Hit me with them.
Generally speaking, I am under the impression that there are 4 main reasons why a movie may not be rewatchable. The first is that if a movie is really, really taxing, if it's uncomfortable, if it's stressful, or generally just not a pleasant watch experience. The second criteria is if the movie is too long. If you're sitting down, like, there are a lot of there are a lot of great movies out there that are just really long, and I avoid watching them because I don't want to commit 3.5, 4 hours.
You just look at the box and,
258. No! Number 3 is if the movie was spoiled. It's like kind of a one-off. You know, if you know the secret formula, it's not that special. No, it's still a really good movie, just part of the value of the movie's been lost. And my 4th criteria is if it just sucks. Like, if it's just a terrible movie, there's no reason to go back and watch it. Those are my 4 general rules of why a movie may not be rewatchable.
Those are good. So I'll pivot from that and go off the first one, which is if the movie's too taxing or unpleasant or that type of thing. First movie that popped to mind, and I, to this day, I have only seen this movie once, and it's Schindler's List. There's so many, powerful and emotional, very uncomfortable scenes. They basically drag him out into the alley to shoot him, but none of the officer's pistols work, and that's how he's saved. And I remember the first time I saw that, I was a senior in high school, and when the first click went off, I was like, and anything very historical in that regards, because history is not often fair or easy to deal with.
Both of my taxing movie examples are both pretty recent, actually. The first one that came to my mind was Joker. Saw it in theaters, awesome movie. It'll mess you up, and there's a lot of those scenes that are uncomfortable to watch. And a movie I think you have seen that I think does the same thing is The Quiet Place, the original Quiet Place. I have an issue with stabbing things and the nail in the foot.
Ooh, yep. I can think of it. It's making my skin crawl just now talking about it.
Right, yep. And it's a great movie, but a scene like that taxes my emotional reaction. It doesn't lend itself to, I'm gonna go casually watch Quiet Place again. It's kind of a bummer. It's like a catch-22 if I'm using that terminology correctly, but a movie does such a good job of invoking emotion and such a good scene creation that it's so painful, it's so to their point that you're like, nah, bro.
It almost sullies the whole thing.
I'm not watching that again. Don't put me through that again.
Yeah.
It very much accomplished what it set out to do, and it's uncomfortable.
What other examples you got?
Long films.
Long films.
Size sometimes is not an advantage here. Immediately off the bat, I'm thinking Avatar with the blue people.
God, that movie sucks. I hate it.
I remember coming out and everyone was like, whoa, bro, it's so good. It's crazy. I don't remember not liking it, but I do remember hating it when I had to watch it for film class years later. First off, it's just a retelling of Pocahontas with aliens. But it's so long. It's 3 hours.
It's just too much sometimes. The new It, the normal one, I think it's almost 3 hours long. I saw an interview with the director, and he was like, I have a 5-hour cut too. What? He's like, what for? Because there were so many parts in that movie where I'm like, all right, let's speed this up. I'm like, it's 12:30.
In that vein of if a movie is too long, a lot of the new superhero movies kind of bridged into that world. They seem like such a huge sensory overload that it almost dulls down the key plot points of the movie and you just don't know where you are. Definitely distinctly remember in the first Man of Steel, I thought the movie was going to end, and then suddenly there's 45 minutes of an end battle scene. Wolf of Wall Street is another great example. There's so much going on. There's so much nuttiness. it's just really long, and it's such a commitment to sit down and to be subjected to all of that going on.
See, I have watched it multiple times, and I think part of maybe the fun of it to me is that there is such sensory overload. Like, he cheats people out of money, he gets caught. It's a huge elusive story about how not to get caught. It definitely is a long movie.
I would sooner watch The Wolf of Wall Street than Avatar again.
I won't watch Avatar because...
Spoiled movies. Movies that rely too heavily on a single mechanic, and so therefore once you know the thing, you might not really care to go back because it's, does that ring any bells for you?
Not off the top of my head, because all the movies that I can remember like being spoiled, they had already been out for like 2 or 3 years already, and I didn't really care if it did get spoiled.
I'm thinking like a movie like Reservoir Dogs.
Still haven't seen that one.
Okay, and what about Moon?
No, we're supposed to watch that together.
Okay, alright. Without spoiling either of these films, Moon and Reservoir Dogs, they both actually kind of play more like plays. So they're kind of minimal set, and a lot of the tension, a lot of the story comes from an unknown factor that the audience, the enjoyment of the film comes from figuring out this trick. In Moon, it's very much WTF, like what is actually happening on this moon, and then at the end, you when you realize what's happened, you're like, you get that wave of satisfaction of a mystery solved. Reservoir Dogs is heist goes south, and they're trying to figure out who was the rat. So at the end of the movie, when you know who the rat is, you're like, do I need to watch this again? You kind of get it.
Yeah.
I think when you rely strictly on a kind of like a whodunit or whatdunit, I think you may fall victim to that. Do I really want to watch this again?
Mm-hmm.
Both good movies, though. Definitely worth a watch.
Okay, I understand that. I'm kind of dropping the ball on that one, just because, like I said, I can't really remember the last movie that got. I was worried about getting spoiled. I guess the one thing, so I was actually the spoiler to a certain extent. It's like sophomore year of college. Our one roommate hadn't seen, I forget if it's Lord of the Rings 1 or Lord of the Rings 2, where they fight the octopus. Remember when Gimli is just like, we should go through the mines of Moria to not have to go through the mountains, but then when they get there, all the other dwarfs are killed, and he's like freaking out?
I thought they had to fight like the big troll thing.
That happens like right after that scene.
Oh, man. I mean, I've only seen those movies once. Speaking of extremely long movies that deter you from going back.
But long story short, I walk into the room like, oh, they're about to fight the squid monster. And then my one roommate was like, Lara, shut up. He's like, I've never seen this before.
Last but not least, movies that just suck. I mean, there are some really terrible movies out there that you watch and you wish you could wash your eyeballs and get your life, like the hour or two you spent on your life back. Ring any bells?
Yeah, absolutely. But it wasn't until the end that the movie got ruined, but the ending just pissed me off so much, I gotta throw it up. Batista has a movie on Netflix called Bushwick, and it's about how a bunch of, like, southern states invade New York City. So like he survives with like these two sorority girls that he befriends in the movie. And then I am gonna spoil this, so spoiler alert ahead. There's literally one scene where he's like, before we head on, I gotta take a piss. And he opens up a bathroom and he gets shot on accident and he dies. I'm like, I paused it, I was watching it with my dad, and I was like, did that really just happen? Like, they survived all this crap. Like, they've shown him to be such a good, like, ex-military guy. And then some random girl's like, I was afraid and I shot him when he opened the bathroom after he just saved like 10 people.
Wow, that does sound terrible.
I was like, okay.
The worst movie I've ever seen in my life is called Omega Doom. You wouldn't have heard of it. It's about like a reprogrammed cyborg. It's awful. It's just a straight up bad 90 minutes of my life. But movies that were bad enough that I wouldn't go back and watch them. The original Westworld movie, I enjoyed watching it, but I would never go back. And I kind of feel bad saying that because I don't like to badmouth sci-fi unless it really deserves it. A more recent happening was the latest Jurassic World movie. Now, I didn't really like Jurassic World, but Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was bad. We're here for a dinosaur movie. Why are we at the auction?
It was just a classic movie. It was like, oh, rich people are bad. They're trying to buy dinosaurs. And I'm like, the whole point of Jurassic World was
1%.
Like, yeah. I came to watch the dinosaurs kill people. Yeah. That's all I got to say about it.
I agree. There is so much to unpack on this topic. I think we only scratched the surface. Really interested to know, what do you think is the worst movie you've ever seen? What do you think kills a movie's rewatchability? Do you agree with our opinions? I mean, there's endless amounts of conversation that we have with this topic.
I'd like to know. Remember the movie Spy Kids? You remember that Steve Buscemi was in that movie?
So good. I don't actually remember Steve Buscemi, now that you mention it, but I do remember watching Spy Kids quite a few times.
Dude, but one of the things is, do you think God stays in heaven because he's afraid of what he created on Earth? And that became like a joke on Twitter. It was like, maybe this is where my anxiety started, because Steve Buscemi said this in a children's show.
As always, thank you for watching. This is what we do. This is our community of film talking. We would love to have you join with us. Subscribe if you liked this content. And if you did, if you're already part of the family, if you could do us a favor and send it to someone else who may like, so they can join the conversation as well. Beyond that, if you have an idea for a topic for Peanut Gallery, always open to suggestions. The point of the community is to take from others and steal it and commodify it.
Yep.
Thank you for having us. We will see you next week.
Later.